every couple has that weird thing they do.
No, we're not like that. I see you had company.
Huh?
2 plates, 2 glasses.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Where are you?
Until I work done that I will work it.
I'm moving out.
What? Why?
Things are not working out.
What do you mean things are not working out? We were fine yesterday.
My ex-wife is coming to town tomorrow. They're going to try and make things work out. I'm sorry, Terry.
Just because things are not smooth sailing in your life does not mean you have to ruin it for anyone else.
Is she sick? I asked you a question. Are you pregnant?
What?
Not in the house.
Kukadili fulani hapa mbaya. Kataivana. Wazi Arif.
Kathy is back. She's in Kenya as we speak.
Wewe inaonekana unamjua mwanamke sana
Moto. Huyu mwanamke ni moto wa kuotea mbali.
I asked you how much money you wanted so you can stay away from my daughter.
Kwa serious?
What plan do you have for your life?
Mwache saja amue.
Believe it or not, this one here is Stephanie's boyfriend.
What?
By the way, naitwa Jonte.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight we have the details for you for the former president of Kenya, the late Mwai Kibaki, the funeral arrangements and the coverage that we will be giving you until Saturday. And also in business, could Kenyans be facing a second fuel shortage? While Caroline will take us all over the country and tell us what are Kenyans going through at this time. And it's sports, we have Karen Kibet with all the action. But first, let's have the highlights. All is set for the Requiem Mass for late President Mwai Kibaki at the Nyayo National Stadium.
We'll be able to get about another 5,000 or more of those petty offenders into the community service program.
5,000 petty offenders to be released to decongest prisons and ease case backlogs. Easing wheat shortage. Kenya imports 150,000 metric tons from Serbia. Our sign language interpreter is Lucy Mwaura. And remember, we would like to hear from you. Do share your feedback and stories that you would like us to share on KBC Channel 1. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. Now, moving on, preparations for the funeral service of the late former President Mwai Kibaki to be held at the Nyayo National Stadium Friday are complete. Security has been beefed up at the Nyayo National Stadium, where heads of state, diplomats, and thousands of Kenyans are expected to congregate for a special national service in honor of the late third President of the Republic of Kenya. The late former president will be accorded a state burial on Saturday in his home in Othaya, Nyeri County. Ben Chumba reports.
On Thursday morning, traffic was disrupted along the Procession Way, Uhuru Highway, Kenyatta Avenue and Aerodrome Road when the Kenya Defence Forces conducted a rehearsal ahead of the big day. Inside the Nyayo National Stadium, preparations for the funeral service of the late retired President Mwai Kibaki were in top gear. The military band, State House Choir, and students from Starehe Boy Center made the final touches to ensure Friday Kibaki is bequeathed a honorable send-off. Kefa Bonda, a country music singer, says he is part of the team called in to perform here on Friday.
So I'm here specifically to actually raise and encourage the hearts of the family of our hero, that is Mwai Kibaki.
With 12 years experience as a solo artist, Bonda, who used to sing for the late President Daniel Moi in his later days, says he will honor the late President Kibaki as a hero.
He can't see anymore. During Mashujaa, I was also honored as one of the heroes from Kisii for the works that I do through the talent that I have in singing. So I was at the Parliament House, singing, and I'll be here tomorrow singing. And then again, I'll go to Odaya, his home. I'll be doing some numbers as they bury him.
Government officials who are accompanied by the clergy to inspect the ongoing preparations said the funeral service will be interdenominational, but will be led by the Catholic Church.
But as a request of the family, and because former president was a very staunch Catholic, we will be having a mass.
Japo tosali katika namna ya sala ya Kikatoliki, lakini zashirikisha jamii nzima ya mwananchi wa Kenya na wote wataotoka nchi mbalimbali kuja kuomboleza nasi.
We want to learn to emulate his good examples, the integrity that he had as a president, the closeness that he had within his church and through his church to God and to his people, the Kenyans.
Kenyans are required to be seated at Nyayo Stadium by 8 a.m. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Tomorrow we will be following up for you live on KBC Channel 1 from 6 a.m. We'll be taking you all the way from Lee Funeral Home and different parts in town, and then eventually also to the stadium. So do keep your clock ready, 6 a.m. and we'll be following up all the details for you live right here on KBC. Now, the Nyeri County leadership has hailed the late President Mwai Kibaki as an illuminating light that brought economic transformation in the country. The leaders who spoke during a special session convened by the Nyeri County Assembly called on the political leadership in the country to emulate President Kibaki, who they say put the interests of the country ahead of his own.
In Nyeri, members of the County Assembly convened a special session to mourn the fallen president who hails from the county. Governor Mutahi Kahiga, in his address to the Assembly, mourned Kibaki as a hero who had set the country on a recovery path when the economy was in near ruins. Members of the County Assembly paying glowing tribute to the late president as a man who built a legacy that outlived him.
Nyeri has indeed lost a highly revered son. Kenya has lost a great statesman, a bold and compassionate leader who will be remembered for his passion to transform the country, having anchored his vision on economic growth, transparency, and accountability.
His passion to transform the country that so enhanced service delivery across all sectors, hence leaving a legacy of development.
20 years from the time he became president, our country is moving or is competing even with the most developed countries.
The leaders called on the political leadership in the country to emulate the late president, who always shoved his interests aside for the sake of country.
When President Kibaki assumed office, he was quite unhappy. Why does everybody need to tufuatane? Si mtu wako na kazi yake, kila mtu afanye.
Kibaki gave us back our life. He gave us hope. And he gave us the ability to start believing in ourselves, because we had lost it. For those who don't know, the previous years, you couldn't talk without looking behind your back.
I went with a very nice proposal on what I thought he needed to help me do in Daragwa. And he told me kwamba sasa wewe unafikiri unaweza saidia watu na hiyo pesa yako ya mfuko? Hiyo mambo yote leta kwa serikali watu.
He operated and created self-independence and self-reliance as much as he could.
The county government plans to immortalize the late president by naming the Narumoro Level 4 hospital and a street after Kibaki. John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Glowing tributes right there. Indeed, I do remember when he was serving his second term as a business reporter, it was always exciting talking about Kenya's economic growth, double-digit actually growth. We will surely miss him. May his mantle fall upon us. Now, preparations at Othaya approved school grounds are in top gear, with less than 48 hours before the late President Mwai Kibaki is laid to rest. Organizers have been ensuring that everything is in place before the late former president is laid to rest.
A chilly morning in Othaya constituency in Nyeri County. Approved school grounds where the burial service for the late Mwai Kibaki is scheduled to take place was a beehive of activity on Thursday as final plans get underway ahead of Mwai Kibaki's burial. Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga says his government is working closely with the national government to ensure everything is in place before Saturday.
What we can do, we have done. Spruce up the entire place. Our equipment, our machinery, everything is available for them. My staff are also working very, very closely with him, with the national committee, and for us is to give Mwai Kibaki a very, very decent funeral.
As the state works round the clock to ensure the late president receives a befitting burial, residents of Nyeri have termed his death as a huge loss, considering the development he endeavored to bring in the country.
Alitusaidia katika masomo na katika hospitali na mambo mengi ya kulima kama chai, majani chai, kahawa. Alitusaidia sana katika Kenya. Tena wakati hiyo uchumi ilikuwa iko safi sana, sababu vitu za kukula ilikuwa bei iko chini na mambo yake ilikuwa mazuri sana.
Kulikuwa na mashida mingi ya barabara, kwa hivyo tunamkumbuka kwa hayo. Tunaambia Mungu, tunamuomba Mungu amlinde mahali atamweka pazuri.
They said the former president restored the hope and belief in top leadership.
Mimi rais nikienda nyumbani napata barabara zetu ziko na rami, watoto wetu wamesoma vizuri, kwa hivyo naweza mkumbuka kwa matendo yale mazuri alituashia kule Othaya. Bado na sio Othaya peke yake, ukienda Kenya yote mzee Mwai Kibaki alijenga Thika Super Highway. Hiyo yote tunajifunia kwa matendo yake manzuri.
They called on leaders to emulate the late president and serve to improve the lives of Kenyans.
Wanaoomba viti hasa vigogo hawa ni wawili ambao ni Raila na Ruto mwenyewe. Wakati huu tungelitaka wawe na manufaa mazuri ambao kila mwananchi atawakumbuka nayo, sio siasa ya mdomo.
The late Kibaki will be laid to rest on Saturday at his home in Othaya. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Remember, tomorrow we will be covering for you live. We will start at 6 a.m. at Lee Funeral, and also coverage from State House and take you all the way to the stadium. And Saturday also will be covered live. Now, moving on, President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on different armed groups in Democratic Republic of Congo to lay down their weapon and work with President Felix Tshisekedi in nurturing peace and stability in the East African Community's youngest member state. Speaking in a recorded video statement delivered on Wednesday evening during a virtual inter-Congolese peace dialogue convened by Kenya, President Kenyatta emphasized that without working towards unity and cohesion among all the people of the DRC, every separate section will remain a loser.
The value of peace is unique and uncontested for at least one central reason. Nothing enduring can be built on shifty soils of insecurity. Second, without laying down weapons and forging an unbreakable national compact to secure the DRC, the fruits of prosperity that all your people deserve, from the teeming rich endowments, will forever remain elusive. Third, without working towards unity and cohesion among all the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo, every separate section will forever remain a loser. Fourth, the recognition that a lifetime is a very, very short time. This makes it urgent for all the people of goodwill in the DRC to coalesce together and frantically set a foundation of prosperity by working tirelessly for an enduring peace. I speak to you in English, and I know many of you speak French. But I want to speak to you from my heart in a language that is yours, Swahili. Na nawauliza kwa heshima kuu wenzetu ambao juzi sisi zote tumekubaliana ya kwamba nyinyi kama ndugu na dada zetu tutakuwa pamoja kwa safari ya kujenga Afrika Mashariki na kuunganisha Bahari Hindi na Bahari Atlantic, kulete watu wetu pamoja. Na ndio tukitembea pamoja tuweze kulete baraka na fanaka ambazo Mwenyezi Mungu ametupatia, na tuweze kuyatumia hayo kwa kuendelesha maisha ya wananchi wetu wote.
President Uhuru Kenyatta there, he says he's speaking from the heart. Indeed, part of his legacy in the last year, he ensured that the DRC does join the East African Community. Let's take a short break for now, but when we come back, I have another story for you on the oil prices and shortage coming up shortly.
Katika Kenya nzima watoto wasome wote, sio tu primary. Primary siku hizi ni kitu kidogo. Primary hapana masomo, hiyo ni mwanzo tu, mtoto anaanza kusoma primary basi. Hiyo wewe hapa ulipokuwa bado kusoma ulifikiri mtu akisoma primary amesoma. Hapana, hiyo ni kazi ya mtoto, anasaidiwa asome hiyo. Just of course masomo yanaanza wakati ameingia high school.
kukidinafwa na kupoteza hiyo Fatima mention ni gani mzuri kwako? Mimi ni mgonjwa. Mimi ndio niliweka hiyo Dallas Remorrhoidosis kwa hiyo mtu.
Unauliza nini?
Kwa hivyo nikieleza wewe ni mambo ambayo nilikuwa ni ya kuambiwa, ambao umeambiwa. Nitakuwa nasema wrong.
Sijaambiwa kitu. Huyu mzee ndiye alikutuma?
Ndio imetuma.
Endelea.
Wakati mzee imetuma mimi kwa kwenda kukidinafu, wewe ndio nilikidinafu.
Hapana.
Wewe ni kidinafu?
Hapana.
Mimi ni mkidinafu.
Wewe unauliza maswali gani?
Wewe ndio ulituita. Kwa sababu ulisema utatuchotea. Nani alisema?
Kuchotea ndio kufanya nini?
Pesa mheshimiwa, kutupatia pesa. Tukimaliza hiyo huyo msemo mheshimiwa.
Welcome back. Now, 5,000 petty offenders will be released in the coming months to help reduce congestion in Kenyan prisons. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says the move will help speed up litigation and increase efficiency in Kenya's criminal justice system.
1,000 probation officers will be hired and trained in a program jointly funded by the Kenyan government, the European Union and the United Nations office in Nairobi. 600 officers have already been recruited, half of which already have been trained. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i lauded the initiative but called for accountability of the program to ensure value for the training.
I truly hope that in the next phase, when we start this work that we're going to review in May, we'll be able to get about another 5,000 or more of those petty offenders into the community service program. And then with an increased number of probation officers, we are able then to decongest our prisons as we go forward.
Professionalizing probation services is at the heart of justice reform. We need, as part of the very ambitious justice sector reform in Kenya, a functioning probation and after-career service to decongest the prisons.
Justice Cecilia Githua, who chairs the Community Service or the National Committee that coordinates the probation services, said since January this year, 3,000 inmates had been released from prisons to serve in community service. The prisons will also let go from their custody another 4,620 petty offenders beginning next month to reduce congestion. Kenya currently has 53,438 people behind bars.
In May to June this year, we have also scheduled another decongestion exercise, also targeting 6 regions in the country, starting with the Coast Province, the Western region, the Nairobi region, the Central and Southern Nyanza.
We need to draw value from these individuals, and therefore non-custodial sentences is one of the things that we advocate for. Other than ensuring that there's less disruption, it also helps us to ensure that our prisons are not heavily congested.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i says the government plans to rope in religious leaders and faith-based institutions in the integration and reform in the criminal justice system.
If we do this aftercare service in a collaborative manner, we will most likely achieve more.
The offer for release to community service, however, does not apply to prisoners serving capital offences, sexual, economic or drug-related crimes. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
The Secretary General, Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, has emphasized the need for Kenya to strengthen her criminal justice system to make it more responsive to challenges posed by vices such as corruption. Scotland says Kenya is set at a vantage point as it can borrow from best practices within the Commonwealth on how to strengthen public institutions for greater good.
The delegation from Commonwealth, led by Secretary General Patricia Scotland, today met with the Director of Public Prosecution, Nuruddin Haji, and was familiarized on the Prosecution Training Institute, which is the region's first institute of its kind, focusing on capacity building in the criminal justice system. The Secretary General held the institution's aim, saying they are going to collaborate and partner with Kenya to aid in its growth.
We are jointly challenged. So this is an opportunity for the prosecution of all our countries, the prosecutors of all our countries, to come together in a conjoined way to share best practice. What works? What doesn't work? How can we interdict crime? How can we make sure that those who try to exploit our countries are stopped?
She further underscored the importance of weeding out corruption as most Commonwealth countries strive for development.
The work you're doing on anti-corruption, on interdicting the illicit flows, making sure that women and girls are properly protected, the work you're doing on FGM, on youth justice, on making sure the integrity of the system is robust and modern, is fundamental to the long-term improvement of good governance in this country.
The Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, called on Kenyans to be careful during the upcoming elections in electing leaders with integrity so as to help in the fight against corruption.
I want to urge Kenyans who are going to the election to vote people and individuals who will bring change and who will review some of these laws to allow us to ensure that individuals who are being investigated or who have been charged in court and have taken plea are barred from running for office until they finish the case.
As the country heads into the electioneering period, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will prioritize election-related cases. Sarafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Sarfina, for that report. Now, an activist has filed a petition challenging the directive by the Director of Public Prosecution, Nuruddin Haji, that his office must approve the arrest of terror suspects. Member Ochara is questioning why the DPP has chosen to single out terror suspects, arguing that the directive is discriminatory.
On 13th April 2022, the Director of Public Prosecutions announced the launch of the Interagency Guidelines on Cooperation and Collaboration in the Investigation and Prosecution of Terrorism and Terrorism Financing. In the guidelines, the Office of the DPP was mandated with the approval of arrest of terror suspects. The guidelines have, however, been challenged in court.
This means that there's going to be slowness in how we are curbing terrorism. Every effort that has been made by key players in the criminal justice system is now going down the drain because we have to wait for the approval of one Mr. Nuruddin Haji before any arrest is made, before investigations are made, and definitely before any criminal has been charged in court for terrorism.
Activist member Ocharo, through his lawyers, argue that the DPP is discriminating against other serious crime and offences.
In order for us to have very objective prosecutions, we should not have a situation where the DPP or the public prosecutor is involved in investigations. Because entirely what prosecution should achieve is a fair process.
In a High Court ruling made on March 24th, 2022, Justice Weldon Korir reaffirmed that the power to make the decision to charge is the ambit of the Director of Public Prosecutions and that the decision to charge guidelines are constitutional and valid. The ruling noted that the DPP has the powers to expect reports of investigations and that the investigative agencies ought to submit the reports to the office of the DPP. The hearing of a case in which businessman Chetan Patel is accused of fraudulently obtaining over 500,000 shillings will be heard on 20th May 2022. Patel appeared in court on Thursday for the hearing of a case which was adjourned due to the absence of two of the witnesses expected to testify in court. Chetan Patel was in 2019 charged with obtaining goods worth over 500,000 shillings from Mukesh Pade, pretending to be in a position to pay for them. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Lynn Chalo.
Culture makes us have beliefs, values, mindsets, and practices. Through culture, we get to see the behavior pattern and norms of a specific group. Their rules, their assumptions, their perceptions, and try to understand the logic and reasoning behind those assumptions.
This family is normally not allowed into the compound, no.
It is taboo to eat chicken, and you have eaten chicken, the entire village would know that so-and-so's wife is a wolf.
Walikuwa wanapata adhabu. Ile adhabu inaitwa malu.
Every Friday at 9 p.m., KBC features different communities in Kenya for an opportunity to understand their specific belief or practice.
Do you have a new story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. Kenyans are staring at another possible fuel crisis after a number of filling stations in Nairobi, Western Kenya and Rift Valley report shortages. Long queues are being reported at various petrol stations as motorists attempt to fill up their tanks. This is despite assurance from the acting Petroleum and Mining Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma that Kenya has enough fuel to last at least 17 days.
Has resurfaced yet again less than 2 weeks after the issues seemed to have been resolved as some parts of the country report fuel supply challenges. This is despite the government saying there is enough fuel in the country. A spot check by KBC found that most petrol stations in Nairobi, Western Kenya and Rift Valley do not have fuel, with those with the commodity experiencing long queues.
Na uwezi weka mafuta lita kama 3, unaweka lita 2 zenye unapita na ukirudi imeisha.
Sasa tunashindwa, kwani ni shida gani iko tena mafuta? Hiyo shida yenye ilikuwa tulisikia itatuliwa.
Mafuta hata sisi tumeshangaa sana, na mbona shida imekuwa na hii mafuta.
Tunatafuta mafuta mpaka tunaingia kwa vijiji kutafuta, hata ukipatikana mafuta ikipatikana kwa mji wa mtu inabidi tuende kutafuta sababu hakuna mafuta.
Major oil companies and independent dealers are being blamed for exporting more than their set quotas at the expense of the local market. Following a consultative meeting between the Ministry of Petroleum, oil marketing companies and representatives of independent petroleum dealers, the acting Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma has reassured Kenyans that there are enough stocks that could last the country for at least 17 days. She says there is at least 97.4 million litres of super petrol and 77.8 million litres of diesel. The Cabinet Secretary blames the spike in fuel demand, especially in Western Kenya, to the preference of transit customers to fuel in Kenya, owing to lower pump prices when compared to neighboring countries. During the meeting, Juma asked all marketing companies to adhere to the 60-40 fuel sale ratio, which dictates that the oil firms must sell at least 60% of their fuel in the country and at most 40% of their fuel to foreign markets. Juma further said that fuel aboard 2 ships that are awaiting docking in Mombasa will solely be sold in Kenya. MT Campo Square is expected to dock in Mombasa on Saturday, bringing in 133.5 million litres of super petrol, while MT Elka Athena is expected in 2 weeks, shipping in 104.7 million litres of diesel. The East African Grain Council has reached a deal for importation of wheat from Serbia to bridge supply challenges caused by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Under the deal, 150,000 metric tons of wheat would be imported from Serbia monthly.
Kenya imported about 2.4 million metric tons of wheat in 2021 to supplement domestic production. A similar trend was projected this year since local millers mainly rely on imports as farmers cannot meet local consumption needs. However, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has affected wheat supply, sending retail prices of wheat products up. Now, East African Grain Council has sealed a deal to import 150,000 metric tons of wheat from Serbia monthly.
We have a liberalization now, 150,000 tons per month is possible to export.
Imports of wheat from Serbia are expected as soon as next month, with the East African Grain Council noting that cereal millers in the East African region would be prioritized under the deal.
Because for Serbia, it would be very, very interesting to fill in the gap that is now appearing in the East African market because of the problems of Ukraine and Russia.
There have been wheat supply issues that have seen the retail cost drastically increase, and the move by the East African Grain Council could help cool prices.
We are trying to see whether Serbia can step in because there might be some problems with the supply of wheat in the next few months.
Other than wheat, the council says maize flour prices that has hit a high of 148 shillings per 2 kilo package is likely to increase further due to expensive maize.
The government has rolled out a program to train 100,000 students in Kenya by the year 2025 under the Powerland project being implemented in Africa. Powerland project chairman John Kamara says the initiative aims at skilling students for the job market.
Every year, institutions of higher learning churn out thousands of graduates. However, some of those entering the job market are said to have inadequate skills. To bridge the skills gap, Edian Labs, in partnership with the government, has rolled out the Powerland project targeting to train 100,000 students in Kenya by the year 2025. This is on the back of the COVID-19 pandemic, accelerating automation of services and incorporation of ICT services by organizations.
And the goal is to train and provide knowledge to 1 million developers across Africa. But starting from here in Kenya, where we want to power the institution of knowledge creation and opportunity to the next level of young people to also help develop this ecosystem that we're talking about.
Support them is because right now this is the particular tool that a lot of young people need so that they can be trained, so that they can be able to have their own jobs. For the longest time, young people always wanted like white-collar jobs, and then COVID came. It taught us how you can work from anywhere you are, and then now the lack of knowledge and the lack of this particular experience, especially as developers, it's become very tricky for young people to be employable.
ICT CAS Nadia Abdallah says the government will support the project, which leveraged a data-free platform by availing county offices to rally the youth to be trained.
Us, as the ministry, we are going to offer the help that we can. If they would need some certain young people from sensitive counties, we're going to be able to incorporate our officers that are there. But also the other angle is National Youth Council is also part of supporting this project, and National Council has young people. So the youths from there will also be able to be incorporated and to be trained as well. So it's a holistic kind of approach.
The first cohort of the 16-week training would be enrolled in June this year.
COVID-19 brought about reliability on technology. This has prompted different organizations to create platforms to digitally equip the youths. For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
The indigenous trees of Rift Hills and the view of Kerio Valley escarpments are some of the attractions in Baringo County. The trees are flowering during this season and produce distinct, sweet, natural scents, ideal for outdoor events. Tonight on Magical Scenes, Irene Muchuma Odim highlights attractions in Cabernet.
Welcome to Baringo County. The road to Cabernet from Nakuru Marigat Highway is wavy and magical. Driving on this road at night would require you to be extra careful. Driving up the hill to Cabernet town, you would be contended with these views of the Kerio Valley escarpments. The trees at the Kerio Valley are medium-sized, rising up to 20 meters tall. The plant species here are fascinating and wonderful. Most visitors to these parts of the country are mostly for business meetings and holidaying.
With the easing of COVID pandemic and the relaxation of the government restrictions, a lot has changed and a lot has improved in terms of conferencing and accommodation. We've been busy with conferences, as you can see, and accommodation has really improved. We are getting many people coming over to Baringo. Just a case in point, over the Easter, we had a booking that was unprecedented.
We had a chance to put up at a facility tucked in the Rift Hills. The hills are in a dense forest with varied types of trees that would produce distinct sweet scents when it rains. Whenever it rains, it pours. But here in Cabernet, Rift Hills, Baringo County, whenever it rains, a very unique, beautiful, natural scent emanates from the trees around this area. It is one that will make you stay longer, and especially if you reside in a busy town. To help you understand the trees in this area, facilities have planted the predominant species of trees and shrubs in botanical gardens with labels.
We have many trees. I think the Nandi Flame is one of them. That is beautiful, that brings out the red blooms. And again, within the compound, you see we have the flowers. That brings that, I don't know what it's called, but that's natural flower that brings out the scent at night. So it's beautiful and so refreshing.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Magical Scenes in the county of Baringo.
We have a long weekend coming up, so Irene has just given you a few ideas of things you can do from today or Friday until Monday. Now, moving on, tea production is likely to significantly within the next decade drop because of climate change that is threatening harvest from the cash crop. Tea Research Institute senior researcher Rhoda Ruto says that the tea production will be affected by global warming since temperatures beyond 23.5 degrees Celsius significantly reduces tea yields.
Farmers in major tea growing zones such as Bomet, Kisii and Nyamira will need to adapt to new farm management techniques due to the new harsher weather conditions. Researchers have been analyzing the implications and implementing adaptation and diversification strategies, including developing drought-tolerant tea varieties.
We have come up with the mitigation measures, which we normally relate to our farmers, so that they can adapt, because this is a natural calamity and we cannot move away from it, but we have to adapt the mitigation measures so that we can remain in the tea industry and to safeguard our tea bushes by the end of the day. We normally tell our farmers to adopt the agroforestry mitigation measures, like observing the cultivation through the MCA.
Climate change has the potential to significantly affect small-scale farmers' livelihood, as a good number of them rely on the crop for income. The researcher says climate change will enhance the suitability of tea production in areas where today the crop is not grown, especially in the higher altitudes around Mount Kenya. Extremely low temperatures affect tea production, with frosts cutting yield per bush. Terry Njenga, Channel 1.
At least 51 extension officers in Kisumu on Thursday graduated from the Farm Business School, an initiative of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in collaboration with the county government of Kisumu. The extension officers are expected to drive increased agricultural productivity by passing on the acquired knowledge to farmers in the area. Wycliffe Oketch reports.
Extension officers drawn from both the public and private sector will implement specific programs with emphasis on sustainable aggregation and collective marketing, according to Amisi Williams, the Assistant Food and Agriculture Organization representative in charge of programs in Kenya. The initiative ultimately aims at assisting farmers make their farming enterprises more profitable while responding to market demands.
We actually launched, I remember at Ciala Hotel, 700 million programs that FAO is going to support the county governments individually and severally within the region. Those projects will be ranging from aquaculture to crop production, livestock area.
FAO in Kisumu County has helped in a number of projects, this just being one of them. And we are looking forward to using the graduates of today to reach every part of the county as our key point persons in propagating the idea of aquaculture.
Peter Ogutu, one of the graduates, hailed the program, terming it as significantly beneficial in improving the capacity of farmers to boost production.
We are addressing issues to do with the business development skills, like we want our farmers to be doing agriculture in terms of business oriented wise, commercialization. So we train them on things like we call these business plans, how to develop the business plans, how to do the gross margins, how they can calculate and know the type of agriculture that if they do is profitable rather than just doing the usual normal one.
As part of an extensive program, the Food and Agriculture Organization intends to replicate the training in other counties. For Prime Edition, I am Wycliffe Oketch.
Digital literacy has received a shot in the arm following a deal between Credit Bank, Microsoft Africa and Codis Africa to deepen digital learning after the formal approval of a coding syllabus by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. The move is in line with the Kenya National Digital Master Plan 2022-2032 to deepen the contribution of the ICT sector to socio-economic development.
The digital literacy program was backed as the answer to the missing piece of digital skills in the country. The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has approved the coding syllabus for both primary and secondary schools. The partnership between Credit Bank, Microsoft Africa and Codis Africa will seek to deepen digital literacy and training of students in coding in the country. Coding teaches learners how computers translate human intentions into commands that computers can understand and is used to create modern use digital solutions such as mobile money transfers and smart devices. Credit Bank Chief Executive Officer Betty Korir says the bank would support schools who deploy the Codis Africa platform as part of the bank's commitment to deepening its social impact in the education sector. It is critical that this skill begins to be understood at this elementary level. We are doing this to prepare the young Kenyan citizen for the future workplace. On his part, Codris Africa CEO Mugumo Monene celebrated the new partnership, saying it would enhance the firm's purpose of enhancing digital literacy among Kenyan students for socio-economic transformation. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Kenya has banned the importation of used minibus and trucks weighing more than 3.5 tons effective from July this year. Local vehicle assemblers have welcomed the ban, noting they anticipate a 15% increase in sales over the short term.
Assemblers say they have the capacity to make 30,000 trucks annually to fill the deficit that might be left after the ban in importation of used passenger buses and cargo trucks. Kenya imports about 12,000 used vehicles monthly from Japan, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, Singapore and South Africa.
The local assembly capacity already exists to produce about 30,000 trucks per annum. These are the 3 plants that we have in Kenya: AVA in Mombasa, Isuzu East Africa and KVM in Thika.
The Kenya Bureau of Standard has issued a notice banning importation of used passenger minibus, midibus, large bus, single articulated bus, bi-articulated bus and double-decker buses into the country from July 1st this year. However, used passenger matatus will continue being imported into the country, provided they are not older than 8 years. Local vehicle assemblers are urging financial institutions to tailor products for transport investors to acquire brand new vehicles.
Normally the purchase price of a vehicle is one component, but the critical cost of running a vehicle is through the maintenance program. So a new vehicle, of course, has got longer life and less maintenance in the formative years of the vehicle. So you can run the vehicle, if you do regular services, for a period of 5 years before you can really have a major overhauls.
It is estimated the ban will increase local vehicle assemblers' revenue by 15%.
So what does that mean? Our approximation is that about additional 65,000 new jobs will be created as a result of this change, and this workforce will work, of course, in the assembly plants, but as well as in local content development.
The government has been pushing to reduce age of used vehicles being imported into Kenya to support the local manufacturing sector and grow jobs through purchase of locally assembled vehicles. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Ili kupata daktari wa tumbo kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *396#.
Alo, daktari. Nimekula githeri sahani ya kwanza, sahani ya pili, alafu sahani ya tatu. Nikapandilia avocado 2. Wakanilazimisha na mchele vijiko 7. Nikamalizia na
kupata daktari wa tumbo, dial *811 *396#. *811 *396#.
Every couple has that weird thing they do.
No, we're not like that. I see you had company.
Huh?
2 plates, 2 glasses.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Were you then?
Until I work done that I will work it.
I'm moving out.
What? Why?
Things are not working out.
What do you mean things are not working out? We were fine yesterday.
My ex-wife is coming to town tomorrow. They're going to try and make things work out. I'm sorry, Terry.
Just because things are not smooth sailing in your life does not mean you have to ruin it for anyone else.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it Prime Edition. It's now time for us to take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, the 2019 African Games bronze medalist Maximila Imali produced a masterclass performance after equaling the 200-meter national record to finish first in the national athletics trials held at the Mwai International Sports Center, Kasarani. The event was used to select a team to represent Kenya in the Africa Senior Athletics Championships in Mauritius.
It was the grand finale of the three-day competitions, where police team took charge of different races. In the women's 100 meters hurdles, Maximila Imali emerged victorious ahead of Jacinta Nyamahunge and Monica Zafania, who came in second and third respectively. In the women's 5,000 meters, Jacqueline Chepkoech took 9 minutes and 26 seconds to win the race ahead of Selfie Chepsol, who finished second, while Karen Chebet completed the podium dash.
Sikuwa na expect kuwin kwa sababu training yangu ijakuwa poa vile. Mi nilijoin Kenya Police juzi, so still niko college, but nashukuru Mungu nimeweza kuwin leo kurepresent Kenya pia na kurepresent Police Championship.
Nataka kwanza nishukuru coaches wangu kwa kunisaidia kwa mazoezi, kunipea program. Kama singekuwa na coaches, singeweza kushinda hii race ya leo. So nataka nishukuru pale nisaidia kwa speed walk na endurance.
Africa's 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala was unstoppable, easily winning the race to qualify for the African Senior Athletics Championship, which will be held in Mauritius.
Race imekuwa poa. Weather iko poa sana, but 10:04 bado ni fast. It's the first time here. It was just coming out here with my coach. My coach did everything he can so that I can run the curve well, and it's working.
For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Thank you, Dan, for that report. Moving on, the Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed today officially launched the Nairobi City Marathon, slated for 8th May. Also known as the Uhuru Classic, the marathon will be held along the iconic and unique course of the Nairobi Expressway, bringing together thousands of runners from Kenya and beyond. The CS described the marathon as a perfect tribute to President Uhuru Kenyatta for his immense contribution to the sports industry and infrastructural development legacy. Athletics Kenya President General Retired Jackson Tuwei thanked the government for its unwavering support for the marathon. The marathon has a prize money of 6 million Kenya shillings for the winners of the full marathon. Liverpool are in control of the Champions League semi-final after a commanding 2-0 victory over Villarreal at Anfield last night. The Spanish side will